All right, so this is yet another episode of Armchair Analyst. Joining me today, as usual, is my usual co-host, GM Gotham City. I'm, of course, Nefarious, and today we have a new other guest on. Introduce yourself.
Hey everyone, I'm Calm Fury.
All right, so today's episode we'll be talking about the Nintendo Switch once again. This time we have new information that's come up since Nintendo's had their big reveal. So let's get right into it. So the first things first, they actually showed what the Switch looked like, and they showed off some games with it. Now, things we know is that it's going to be released on March 3rd for $300 in the United States. And it is, as you know, we already know it's a tablet console hybrid thing. Now, it's going to come with a few other things. It's going to have this thing called Nintendo Online. That's going to be Nintendo's online feature, sort of like PSN Plus and Xbox Live. We'll have more on that in a bit. And we've got at least some of the games that they're going to have for their startup launch. But let's go a little bit more into the specs first. So it's a 6.2-inch screen with a 720p touch display screen. It's going to have up to 1080p when it's docked. And it's going to have an SD card slot with one USB-C port for charging and two USB ports on the dock itself. So initial thoughts on the specs?
On addition to that, obviously the dock will have your HDMI out and your AC slot in the dock.
Connect to your TV.
It was as expected. I think 720p was what the rumors were for a tablet-like device. I don't know if they could have went 1080p or what their battery life losses were at 1080p. But 720p, I think, on mobile is fine, especially for Nintendo stuff, because Nintendo doesn't require high definition or high fidelity graphics either way.
I mean, you've got your nice little cell shading that you get for a lot of games, such as Wind Waker and whatnot. Right.
And 1080p seems to be, I don't know, with both PlayStation and Xbox going into 4K resolution, Switch is launching basically alongside the Pro who at least upscales to 4K. And then you have Scorpio coming out later this year with 4K native. So Switch launching at 1080p support on TVs might be a bit lackluster. But again, I don't think in the end it matters too heavily, but interesting nonetheless.
Yeah, I agree with that totally. I mean, the specs were along the lines of what we had expected. But then, like you were saying, Nintendo's never been one to go for the, technologically heavy powerhouse like Xbox or PlayStation. So I think it's expected, and not everyone's made it to the 4K revolution yet. So I think it's, again, what was expected. Nothing wowing us here.
Yeah.
It is. One thing we did touch upon last time was the upscaling to 1080p when it's docked. So that is confirmed now.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's not that it's upscaling, it's just that it's the power that's being able to be drawn from the wall outlet allows it to generate more power, which allows it to output at that. So it's not upscaling it. Because like when they were talking about Mario Kart 8 Deluxe today, they were talking about how it will run native 1080p 60 frames per second when it's docked.
Yes.
So it's not upscaling it when it's docked. It's just the power allows it to output it at a higher resolution.
Not only the power, so technically speaking, what's happening is that the processor is being overclocked. So I believe it runs at 900 megahertz was the rumors when the tablet is by itself, and it's being pushed up to 1.1, or I don't know, I may be making up these numbers, but I do know that they said the processor is supposed to be overclocked or clocked higher when it's docked, which allows, as Michael said, native 1080p, not upscaled.
Okay. And did they actually mention 60 FPS?
That depends.
They did for Mario Kart specifically when I was watching that on their Team Treehouse stream today.
Okay. 60 FPS is great.
That depends on the game, though, in the end.
Obviously, yeah, it depends on the game, but I mean, there's plenty of games that still don't hit 1080p 60 frames per second, but generally they're more complicated than what Nintendo's releasing. Something like The Witcher 3 obviously can do 1080p, but as a steady frame rate rather than doing 30 frames per second or 60 frames per second.
Right.
But again, it's a much more complicated game.
Yeah.
Right. Another thing to note was the USB-C for the charging. That's nice.
Not only for the charging, since it is USB-C, you can use HD slot drives.
USB-C HDMI out thing.
No, not HDMI. I don't think it's a Thunderbolt USB-C. It's
Okay.
You can use external hard drives, is what I mean.
Hmm.
Through the USB.
Well, they have 32 gigs of storage space with an SD card
slot.
Now. Slot. You think we'll be able to actually open it up and replace the internal hard disk space?
No, I highly doubt that. I think it'll be
soldered on
a closed system like Microsoft's is, where it's closed, but then you can expand it with an external hard drive or the SD card slot.
I know it's a tablet and everything, and tablets usually have this 32 gig, but for games, I don't know if I thought I would. Well, maybe 64 gig, maybe 128 gig was.
3DS, I thought it was confirmed to go up to 256 unofficially. Right? It works with it. It's just not officially supported. So I imagine you can do the same.
Yeah, I don't think the storage space is that big of a deal, because if someone's going to be using that much storage, they're going to be providing their own storage solution, whether it's an SD card or a external hard drive.
The other thing is,
I feel like, I mean, the digital revolution hasn't come quite yet.
True.
It's coming, but it's not quite yet. And so it also depends on what the sizes of the games are. I mean, we're seeing on some of these consoles like PS4 and Xbox One, games over 60, over 80 gigabytes. And obviously, if it's those games are that big, then it's going to be a different story. But we'll have to wait and see when we actually get the specs on the games themselves.
I actually want to touch upon that, because you look at the graphics on those games, you've got all your cutscenes, which it might download all the textures. If it's at 1080p, those are a much higher size than at 720p. And now if they're trying to get 4K, that's going to be even bigger. So that's going to drastically increase the file size of games if you're trying to download them.
The biggest thing it depends is if Nintendo is going to force you to download off the disc itself. That's the biggest concern I have.
It's not a disc at all.
Or cartridge. The cartridge.
The cartridge, right?
What I mean, because Sony, even though you can share your discs, as they famously showed off at E3 back in the day, you still have to download all 50 gigs to your hard drive before you can play the game. Well, or you have to do it to play the game. And I wonder if Nintendo will follow suit for a anti-piracy measure to do that as well.
Which I guess I wouldn't be surprised if they did do that because of their anti-piracy tendencies. From what I've been hearing, there's been a lot of issues with piracy, and like the 3DS, all of a sudden there's like some huge exploit out there for it, where they can basically get into the kernel of the system.
With the 3DS, they actively update the firmware very, very actively. So they try to patch that as quickly as they can. Whereas the DS was a lot more exploitable.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. But I feel like from what I've heard recently is like the 3DS has recently gotten to that point where it's now
there was a major vulnerability that was exposed a little while back.
Yeah.
I imagine you can still have your used games, right? I can still buy a cartridge from you and use that. So they'll still be there.
Right, but is it going to be the system where, like the DS, it actually has your game save files on there too? So you sell a used copy. Does it have that on there when someone else goes to pop it in?
I don't think the 3DS does not do that, so I would assume that they're going to carry that strategy over to the
Wii U and Wii did, right? I mean, all your save files are stored on the device. And the another thing is with the 3DS, there is stuff that you can save it onto the SD card. And if you ever get a new 3DS, you have to go through their whole stupid system, and you have to call them up and then have both of the devices, have them transferred, and all that stuff, right?
Not necessarily.
For digital downloads, sorry.
If you have both devices, you don't need to call them up. If you don't have the other device, you need to call them up. And as I learned,
someone had stolen it,
or you sold it and then got it after, like I did. But what's funny is I learned that you can only do 2 device resets every 3 years.
Awesome.
Or something of that sort. I don't remember exactly what number she told me on the phone, but that seemed archaic. But we'll get to that later with their online services.
Hold on, Nintendo and online services archaic? Come on.
We'll get to online in a bit. But more on the hardware itself, it comes in 2 color schemes. I guess the gray-black scheme on the base and the neon red-blue configuration.
They had that with the Joy-Con controllers. Which, by the way, those were actually pretty cool. I didn't realize some of the stuff they had them. So they had and the right one, I want to say was no.
Yeah, that's the right one with the infrared sensor.
Yeah, the right one had the IR sensor, so
Left
it could
one had
use that.
NFC.
That is it. Yeah. So the left one, it'll work with the amiibos.
Mm-hmm.
So you do have your amiibo support confirmed. You have the IR sensor. You've got fancy rumble.
Rumble that
You've
can
got rumble.
make you feel that you're holding a glass of water with ice in it. That was
You've got
very.
got
that was the
rumble.
best. I loved that part of the
I remembered as
conference
soon as they showed that, I was going, please don't say Nintendo Switch is going to be your next water cooler. Don't bring that back from the Xbox. Don't do that again. That was dumb.
Yeah, but I thought their thing was pretty cool.
The
I
whole
guess
HD Rumble thing, I think, is very gimmicky. I don't know. It will be interesting once we see the games on how they use it. And Nintendo first parties, I'm sure might probably use it, but again, third parties will be like, nobody else has it. I'm not doing it.
it was still pretty cool though.
Yeah.
Just to look at
nonetheless,
the IR sensor.
sure.
The way they showed that off with I know I'm jumping the gun a little bit with the game, but the 1-2 switch.
Yeah.
I thought that was hilarious. I thought that was because it looked to me like, hey, that's their Wii Sports of the Switch, you know, that thing which you go, or Nintendo Land where you go and you play it at parties, and it's just this fun little thing that, oh, well, that's cool.
Well, the problem with it though is that's a full $60 release.
We'll get into that. We'll get into that.
Yeah.
I won't spoil it yet.
We'll get into
but
that.
before that, I wanted to say that not only were those the two neon colors that I noticed yesterday, that's all they announced, but throughout the Treehouse stream today, throughout the 1-2 Switch demos and other game demos, they displayed other colors. One of the eating competitions during 1-2 Switch, I noticed they had an orange neon one. So I'm assuming there will be future, very soon releases of different colors. I'm interested to see if they're going to introduce the actual system itself in a different color rather than just the Joy-Cons.
I'm sure during the holidays when
within a year or two, or
other games like Mario comes out, like Mario usually brings in a red console.
Luigi green.
But
whatever.
It's interesting that they changed the perspective because back in the 3DS, before they shipped to the new 3DS, when they had the 3DS XL, the special editions were kind of engraved almost, right? Whereas then they switched to 3DS XL and they went to cases. So even if you paid special edition, you paid more money. It was just a case and you'd pop it off. But now they're going back again and going.
I like the engraving ones. The engraving ones look cool.
Yeah, the engraving. I really liked that.
I remember there was this one for one of the Pokemon Fire Red release. I remember like the Charizard one looked super awesome, but
and the new ones don't have that. And but that's interesting that they went, you know what? No, we won't do that case approach again. We'll go back and we'll build special editions that you can't change whenever you want again.
But there is no region locking. Woohoo!
Kind of.
There's pros and cons to it.
No, kind of. They said hardware is not region locked. Software.
Oh, software. God damn it.
They said that in the presentation. So you can order a Switch from Japan if there's a special edition now that's only distributed in Japan or Europe or wherever it is, and now you can order it. So that's the first time they did that. But software will still be regional locked. You cannot order JRPGs, and it might not work unless they allow distribution in the United States.
But that's why people would do it, right? But the other nice thing, if you've seen any of the pictures of the UI, people are wondering, what about apps? Am I going to be able to watch Netflix or YouTube on it? And it being a tablet, I can't imagine them not having Netflix. I mean, the 3DS has Netflix.
Yeah,
it's got to have that.
Right? I assume they're going to continue the Wii U overlay or the UI or a formation of that and then continue that. So Netflix, YouTube, Hulu, Crunchyroll, those apps will follow through. I mean, everything that you see in the Nintendo store right now, I think will continue forwards on top of that. And what about the box again comes with those two Joy-Cons, one left, one right, right? And then you have it also comes with that bad charging thing for your Joy-Cons. And in addition
I thought that's also the gamepad too itself, if you put them onto that.
Yes, it'll be a controller. And so that will be your controller. The Pro controller is sold separately. So hardware-wise, everything was expected.
Expensive.
Hardware-wise, everything was expected, and
Not the price. The price of the
299.
Joy-Cons is
The
so
price was expected. I'd say that.
I mean,
Oh, the
even when the
Joy-Con
episode,
controllers?
no, not Joy-Con, on the console itself. Remember, even when the last episode over the last 3 years, I've been
Yeah.
saying 250 to 300 is where they need to hit. I didn't think
No,
they.
Mhm.
I thought they said expected a bundle at 300. I didn't
Right.
expect base console
Right.
to cost 300. I think that's
I-
pushing it a little bit to
Right.
the border.
Like if they even included just like the 1-2
Yeah, Switch.
Switch
Switch
or
with
something
yeah,
like
I
that,
don't
just
know
to
why they're not.
at least have some sort of pack in
Yeah.
with it, something bundled in to get you started with it,
Mhm.
because this is supposed to be a party system, a social system,
It worked with
but in
Wii
the sense
Sports.
of a local social system as
It
compared
worked.
to
It worked with Wii Sports, right? That's how the popularity
Yeah.
really spread. Wii Sports was
Right.
a super accessible title that
right.
pretty much anyone could
It
just
was
pick up and play. My parents, who are not very tech savvy, would still play it. You know, and I would imagine
we
that
took
this
off.
would be something very similar to it.
Mhm.
But
Yeah,
I was
I mean
talking
that's what I was
specific.
expecting.
I was talking specifically on the Joy-Con pricing.
Yeah, we'll get to that. And in terms of but in terms of pricing, I thought 299 was a bit pushing it without any bundling in of games or software.
So it
That's
is
just
confirmed
now.
that
That is just
it is,
now. So
it is confirmed that as of now that if you were to go and buy it, you would get just the base console, nothing else.
yeah, they confirmed that
For $90.
no bundles will be launching on launch day.
Yeah, unless it's like specific retailer bundles, like GameStop generally tries to pack in like about 10 extra accessories and 3 games,
Yeah.
like
Is there?
into their own
I
bundles,
thought
but it's not a
pretty much
Nintendo bundle.
I thought pretty much every launch as of recent always comes with at least one game.
No, the
Hmm.
Sony did bundles on their launch, but most console manufacturers are doing. None of them are actually doing bundles unless it's holiday season. It's
Hmm.
usually left to retailers to say, if you buy a console, we'll give you one free game,
Right.
kind of thing,
Okay.
more than the manufacturers themselves. But 300, I thought maybe 250. I thought the with the build of this product, which is, as I've heard, is still plastic, so it isn't, but probably high grade plastic, so it's not like it's gonna break or anything. But I thought 720p touch screen tablet, 6.2 inch, with their abysmal. I'm saying abysmal. I don't know the people's opinions on it, but 2.5 to 6 hour quoted battery life. And when they give me a battery life of that, I expect the lower end. So 2.5 to 3 hours is what I expect.
Yeah, 2.5 would be abysmal. 6 hours would be fine.
I think the whole wide range comes from just the different possible settings and what's going on. Like, because if you're doing Splatoon online, like that's going to draw more.
Right.
If you have your brightness all the way up while you're playing something that might draw more power, like Zelda, that's going to cut into your battery life too. But I think it's fine because they do provide the AC adapter that you can take with you on the go, so you don't have to dock it to charger. Because that was one concern going in, was people were like, wait, do I have to dock it to charge it? And that's the only way I can charge it? Because, you know, if I take it with me on the plane or something, I get to my hotel in another state and all of a sudden, well, now it's dead, so I can't use it. So the ability to recharge it, I think it's fine. Not like it's great, but like, again, as we're saying, you know, there are lower specs to help with the battery life. And if these are the specs that get us this minimal amount of battery life, like people complaining for more specs, like don't understand how much worse the battery life would be.
In addition, it is USB-C, so you can get any battery, whatchamacallit, extenders, those bricks of 10,000 milliamp hours and extended them even that way. But I thought, you know what? I think I thought it was a $250 price range. I think that would have been incredible if they were able to hit that. But 300 is fairly close, but I've seen a lot of international people going, now I'm not so sure.
Yeah. I mean, I think the most telling thing about the price point is just, I mean, I stayed up and watched the whole press event, you know, past midnight here, and I had to wake up at 5 o'clock for work. And I instantly just went on, you know, Best Buy and Amazon and GameStop and everyone, and like I saw it in stock still. Like
Yeah.
that doesn't happen with Nintendo consoles usually. It's they do their, you know, fake scarcity where they make it seem like it's scarce to drive up demand. And I could have ordered it if I wanted to, but it's like I just at the 300 price point. Just for me, I was like, there's not enough reasons to get it at launch, so why rush out and get it? And I think that's the largest tell on that. How the public is perceiving their price point is that you can still order it. Like even right now, I mean, we're almost 24 hours since the conference, and you can still find it on Best Buy. You can still find it on Amazon or GameStop.
Well, right now, the pre-orders launched today morning, and as of right now, you can only order GameStop and at Target. At least it says pre-order. Best Buy's listing is coming to notify me when available. Amazon still has not opened it. Is unavailable and email me. But as Nintendo's site lists Best Buy, GameStop, and Target as your pre-order from these retailers. So I'm assuming these are the only 3 retailers as of right now that you can pre-order anything from.
I think one point of note was, I had something. We were talking about power and charging, right? One thing I often look at is my 3DS, which I carry with me. And the way I do it when I put it on 3DS, I put it on, so the brightness goes from 1 to 5. I usually put it on 3, just whenever I go out anywhere, right? And I'm not in my house. And I say, how long does that last me? I usually turn off the Wi-Fi too, just because I'm usually not doing any Wi-Fi network stuff. And that usually lasts me a sufficient amount of time. Now, recently, I haven't had any instances where I'm sitting there and I'm playing for 6 hours in one go. I don't get that kind of time anymore, right? But usually, I carry something to charge stuff with me everywhere I go, and part of that is just paranoia because of my phone. I've had it die on me way too many times. I carry a battery pack with me. I carry all my chargers with me, and it's just in my backpack. So I don't know. Maybe I've just come to accept that. Battery life for everything seems to suck, and as much as you promise it's going to get better, just carry something with you.
Right, and that's how most portable devices are nowadays. It all comes down to the battery because people want more power, they want more speed, but they're not actually making batteries more powerful. It's extremely difficult for scientists to do that, and so they're they're making the other components smaller to fit a larger battery into it. So it's like, it's more battery life. It's like, well, it's a bigger battery because you shrank everything else, but
you also get diminishing returns.
Exactly, and that's the problem.
And people were saying, what about international flights? I believe most international flights, if they take over 6 hours, even local flights now, but international flights that last over 6 hours have USB ports on
every international flight I've ever been on, and I've been on quite a lot, they have either USB or an outlet or both.
Right.
Yeah. So you should.
I've always been able to put my laptop in and plug in my DS on a flight. In fact, flights are actually great because I know I'm always going to be able to charge it for that.
Yeah.
It shouldn't run out there.
And I think as a base system, I think they built it fine enough that you can extend upon it over the years for them, as well as users can say, hey, I can buy a battery extender, I can buy an HD hard drive. HDD hard drive and connect it with USB-C or using the dock, and I'll be fine. And I think I think they built it fine. The biggest gripe again now is accessories are a nightmare, absolute nightmare. I don't know who came up with these prices.
$70 for the Pro controller. 2 Joy-Con bundle is $80. So does that mean?
But that's not with the grip. So the grip's an extra $30. So if you want it with the grip.
So when this is 2 Joy-Cons, does that mean the left and the right?
Yes.
If I buy just the left or just the right, it's $50?
$50. Yep.
Why?
So if you have 2 controllers and lost the right one on both, you have to spend $100.
That's so stupid.
I'm gonna play devil's advocate here. So the Joy-Con controller is there's a lot more going into that obviously than some of these other controllers that we have out there.
It reminded me of the Wii Remote controller.
Right, so those launched at like $50 or $40, wasn't it? And then $50 if you got the Wii Play bundle. But with these though, the detachability, retachability, I feel, and like the way you could do all the different configurations, you're giving players way more options. I can see the $80 price point.
I can't see the $50 price point though.
Yeah, that just feels so odd to me.
I think from a business perspective, I think it's
Sure.
fine. And the $70 for the Pro Controller, it's like, well, that's ridiculous. You can get a PlayStation DualShock 4 or a Xbox One controller for $40. It's like, well, those
Not
are
the
on
Elite.
sale because
Not the Elite controller.
when those controllers launched, they were $60. So this is $10 more for a console that comes out 3 years later. So is there 3 years worth of more technology in it? I don't know.
Well, they're apparently using the same IR sensors, NFC sensors, and all the same sensors that are existing in the Joy-Cons are in the Pro controller as well. So I'm not saying the price up isn't justified. I'm saying I think it should still hit $60 for a Pro controller.
I do too. I mean, I think 70 is a stretch.
I think, and I would be okay for the $50 Joy-Cons if the $80 bundle included the battery pack.
Right. I think that
That's
charge grip
needed to be
is
hit.
right. I think that's my one gripe. Like seeing that price point, I was like $80. I'm like, that doesn't seem bad. And then it's like, oh, but it's another 30 for another grip, and it's like, well, that doesn't make sense.
Yeah, because you can't charge it without a grip, and if you already have one controller, you're not going to be charging on two separate things.
I want to move forward, just for the sake of time. I want to move forward a little bit. Let's talk about their online service really quickly. Their smartphone app that they're going to have with the friend lobbies and whatnot.
Well, the first thing is it's the Nintendo online service. It won't launch till fall, which means it will be free till fall. In terms of details, we got nothing. Is it an account? What kind of service are we paying for?
I can tell you now. What is the most cumbersome method you could possibly think of? That is what Nintendo will use.
Yeah, I mean,
with friend codes.
Right. The details are sparse. I mean, the idea of one free game a month, similar to PlayStation and Xbox.
But it's a rental.
But right, it's just for that month. It's like a little bit of a.
I think we need further explanation on that. I don't want to. I want to say that's what it means, but I'm not sure. Maybe they mistranslated it themselves, and it's
no. So there's been clarification that it is just the month that it's free, and if you want it after that month, you have to buy it. Yes. Which
it's a glorified demo.
Again, I'll play devil's advocate here again. But like, if you're playing SNES games or NES games, they're usually not all that long. They're difficult, but they're usually not all that long of games. So like, you should be able to beat it in a month, but like, I still don't think that's okay. Like, I think you should give us a game.
I agree that it shouldn't take that long, but the issue is for people like us or full-time workers, it's if you're full booked this month, you're missing the game. You're done.
Yep.
Which that's is what true. I like with games with Gold or Plus is, hey, you stock it. Oh, it's the summertime. Now you can play it, or it's vacation.
Exactly.
Well, I would be okay if they did the same way PlayStation Plus does it, where you get the game so long as you have the service.
Yeah. Right. If you cancel the account, then right. Yeah.
I would be okay with that. I know Xbox Live Gold they have a bunch of older games that they give you for free, but that's you're getting the ported Xbox game or whatever. You're not really making sales off of that anymore.
Right.
So that's more of a goodwill to the community sort of thing. And it's obviously good business sense because it looks good for them and all that stuff. But
yeah. And the other thing is the whole lobby thing is, it's an interesting way that they did this whole, hey, when you want to voice chat with people or go into game lobby or send invites, it's not through the console. You have to download a third application onto your smartphones or tablets, and that's how you will communicate.
But the Switch is a tablet.
Yeah, I mean, like the Pro controller doesn't even have a headphone jack. Like
they're telling
other consoles controllers, you need another device. You need another smart device.
I imagine
so if you're giving this to a kid who wants to play it with their friend, then you have to get your kid an iPhone too or an Android device.
Like, the Switch has the
pretty
headphone jack, right? The Switch has the headphone jack, so
the tablet does, but you can't. There's no mic on the tablet.
Right, it's just headphones.
Wait, really?
Oh, yeah. You cannot voice chat on that.
Hey man,
device.
we can't have kids talking to each other online, okay?
Yeah.
Nintendo's stats.
Yeah, friend codes.
So. Yeah. I think we need more details on the online service. At this point, I'm going to assume and say it's going to be $60 a year. every service is at that price. So I'm assuming they're gonna say $60 a year.
I'm going to go ahead and assume that it's still going to be as cumbersome as possible.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, and I
I
just think
really hope it's an account.
I mean, that's what they need is because they didn't touch on at all on virtual console or anything like that, because tying together your account into one account, whereas you don't have to buy a new virtual console game every generation.
All they had to say was you will have one account for everything. That's all I want to hear.
I mean, I'm sure they're gonna have more details at E3 on their online service, and I guess we'll just have to wait till then. I'm not too happy with those two parts. It's not that it costs me money. I think it's fine. Servers cost a ton of money to pay for, and if this money goes into improving that, I think PlayStation has improved drastically with PSN after they've been charging people.
Sure.
Their downtime is much more minimal and it's much more stable. So if Nintendo can get the same benefits, I'm all for it. I just want that money's worth back.
Right. And that's part of the problem with that whole free game thing is it's like, well, wait, you're gonna start charging us, but you're not really giving us a free game. Like it's sort of, bait and switch, in my opinion, on that part of the online program.
Speaking of that, that was a dumb pun they've used through the entire presentation. Let's switch.
I loved it. I loved that part.
I thought it was fine though. I mean,
stop it.
Classic.
They did it twice, and I was like, ha ha ha, I got it. Then after the 10th time, I was like, it was fine. Please stop.
It was fine. It could have been worse. It could have been worse.
I think my favorite part is when he sat on the couch, though.
Oh, yeah, I sit like this.
She's like, so this is how I can enjoy my games. And hey, that's great. Why not?
And
there was a few times I laughed during the cut. That was one of the 1-2 switch I did a lot too. It was like, that's when they did the whole Chuck Norris thing.
Yeah, the horrible game names. I know we'll get to games in a second, but some of the horrible game names, like, I
mean, let's go right into it.
All right.
Games, they showed off in the actual press conference. They showed off only Nintendo titles, I believe. Actual demos
and Skyrim.
They didn't even. They showed a trailer of Skyrim, kind of, right? Not even a.
They showed glimpses of gameplay.
They showed like a trailer, and like it was a Todd Howard call-in, but just saying like, "Hey, we're Bethesda, and we're testing out the waters here to see if we actually want to develop something for real."
We're buddy with Nintendo.
They actually confirmed it will be coming out.
Yeah,
it will be coming out for the Switch.
It's coming out in autumn 2017, but like. This is Bethesda testing it to see, like, okay, do games actually sell on this console?
Yeah, true.
That's the whole third-party
support. The issue is, though, everyone's already played Skyrim. I already have it on.
They launched this is the special edition, so this is the full DLC I'm just saying, remastered version.
I already have Skyrim on everything. I have it on my PC, so I have no reason to play anything else.
True, but
I also have it on my PS3, and I got it for my brother on the PS4, and it's already on everything.
True, but this is a brand new way to play Skyrim alongside your friends right next to them. The Switch introduces a brand new way to play.
Can you imagine though if only on the Switch they had Skyrim and I can just hop into your world and play with you? I mean, I know it's not going to happen, but just purely hypothetical.
Online already exists, but just not.
I know, but I'm just saying purely hypothetical. I come over to your place, I bring my Switch, and I just take my character, hop into your world, and we both go around Skyrim together.
Yeah, that'd be pretty
awesome.
Yeah. And for games,
free idea, but that's a free idea.
Showed 1-2 Switch, Zelda, Super Bomberman, Just Dance, Skylanders,
Super Mario Odyssey.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Chronicles.
Arms was the first one they showed. Arms, Splatoon 2.
Arms looked fun.
Super Mario Odyssey, Xenoblade 2, and Fire Emblem Warriors. In addition to that, Square announced Dragon Quest 10 and 11, 1 and 2. Atlas announced Shin Megami Tensei for the 25th anniversary. Square Enix again came back and announced Project Octopath Traveler.
That name. Oh.
Bethesda announced Skyrim. Sonic Mania was shown off in the 30 cuts they had of
the most important one, Just Dance. 2017.
No More Heroes from Grasshopper, which I saw gameplay today of, and FIFA. They just called it FIFA for Switch, and I'm assuming that means there'll be FIFA 18 when it launches.
And it better be. That's so. I'm a huge soccer person, as Nickit knows. Like that whole.
In case you're wondering,
the
he's a
Wii-
dirty United supporter as well.
I'm not
The-
dirty. I'm a
the-
high and mighty United
Uh-huh.
supporter.
Yeah, they'll be playing Liverpool this weekend. But anyways, the FIFA, which the Wii FIFA games were so bad,
You're so awful.
so bad. Like I
Okay, so
mean,
story time. I had FIFA 09 on the PS3, and I got FIFA 11 or 12 on the Wii, and I played it on the Wii, right? I looked at the graphics, and about a minute later, I went back to the PS3 version. It
Yeah.
was so bad.
it was atrocious. It was just
It
wasn't FIFA.
So
Can I just say something about the third-party people that showed up on stage? They looked like they didn't want to be there.
Yeah.
That looked
Well, I mean,
awkward.
and I think it's obvious, like, with what I was saying before, like FIFA and Elder Scrolls, like these are two big franchises that
Mhm.
won't take them much to put something out on the Switch with, like just to like test it to see like, hey, is there a market here for games for us to
Mhm.
make more? Because again, back on the Wii generation, like a lot of third parties were burned with trying to release a bunch of games, and like none of them were making money because people only were buying Nintendo games primarily.
Well, part of it was the only quality games for the Nintendo games. I mean,
Right.
if I know the port's going to be shit, why would I buy it?
Right, exactly. Like if the FIFA port is shit compared to the FIFA on PS3 or Xbox, like why would I play it
Not
on
only that,
Switch?
the problem existed that the Microsoft and Sony marketed so heavily to the so-called hardcore gamers, and that third-party titles that launched back in like Call of Duty, Battlefield, and Killzone and Halo were, this is the console you play shooters on. This is the console you play RPGs
did you
on.
really want to play COD on FIFA or COD on the Wii? I mean, come on.
But I mean,
People
they
are
didn't
units
market
on
It's
Wii.
sold decent on the Wii, but I mean, you've just compared
It's-
the actual experience of the game.
This is what you have to understand is it doesn't matter if it doesn't run well or runs well. It's the aspect of the marketing that back in Xbox 360 days, if you asked what do you play Call of Duty on, it would almost unanimously be Xbox 360 because of the heavy marketing they did. And if you're now in the PS4 days, go watch a commercial, PlayStation 4, PlayStation 4. Every time that was commercials there, PlayStation's the one that they sell more on now. So that's what I mean. It doesn't even matter if it's just they marketed that way that these are the consoles you played on. Nintendo didn't even have a chance to do
Right.
it.
Well,
And
the
Nintendo
people
didn't.
who aren't hardcore gamers like don't follow that. They just see the commercial and see, oh, it's on PlayStation or Xbox or Nintendo, and so then they assume, oh, it's only on that.
Right.
Like they don't always understand, like, oh, well, no, some of these are third parties that are on multiple consoles.
You mentioned that the people didn't seem excited. I think what just one thing is that you saw the trailer for the ARMS, and you saw the two people just going crazy and having fun with it. I didn't really expect that from some executive at EA.
But I mean, Mike made a good point. Is they have no idea how to do what to do here. They're far more confident in Microsoft or Sony launching a new console than their Nintendo.
Right. I mean, it's familiar to them. It's traditional. They know what to expect.
Yeah.
Right. It's just porting over and mapping buttons. I mean, like I know it's not that easy, but the porting process can be very complicated. But just to at least understand like how the system architecture works, with a Tegra processor that's customized, like they need to understand how to do this. So doing it with something that they already know so well before they start trying to be innovative, and also trying to figure out what is not gimmicky, because again, like most of the Wii games were gimmicky, and that's why they didn't sell well and were thought of as bad games, because they were just gimmicks that were good for 30 minutes before it was done.
I'm really hoping that something like ARMS does pretty well, because that actually looked pretty fun.
I think it looks great. Like when they showed it, I was like, looks, I saw the name, I'm like, that looks dumb. And then like actually watching the gameplay of it, I'm like, this actually looks fun. Like I mean, it's a total party game. Like
I saw it on Treehouse. That was the first game Treehouse showed.
Treehouse thing. Yeah, that was great showing of it. I thought that really helped highlight like because they had a person who's actually into fighting games. Because like I suck at fighting games. I'm the guy that mashes buttons. But like the way he was explaining it, it's like okay, it's the classic, rock paper scissors mechanics. So
It's simple.
there's more depth to it if you want there to be. But like if you just want a party game, it's fun too.
They took Wii Boxing from Wii Sports and said,
Yes.
let's make it more fun and let's give it a bit more depth for people to enjoy.
Yep.
And that
It's
looked really fun.
It's not complex to the point of being Street Fighter V, where I will go in and I'll have absolutely no idea what the hell I'm doing.
Yeah.
Right. I have to worry about, do I do this, this ability, and did I do it on the right frame and whatnot.
And I think they're taking the Smash approach with it to not making a hardcore fighting game and making it simple that anybody can get into it, but giving enough characteristics to it that there's things you can do differently and you can get hardcore into this kind of game.
That's a game which it looked and felt Nintendo.
Yeah.
And that was nice, I had that Nintendo feel, and then Nintendo is known for their first party stuff, right? So I remember you and we tried Splatoon in Best Buy, just like the demo, right? That was pretty fun, just the 10-15 minutes we played of it.
Right.
It was just this fun little party game that we would play if you have friends over.
Right.
Yeah. So actually, before we go more into the games, just for me personally, like I am not really a big Nintendo person. I haven't owned the home console since the 64 when I was a kid, and I bought a DS for about 6 months while I was in college because I was bored when I was studying for finals. But the Switch actually interested me. I'm like, okay, like this seems to fit my lifestyle of, hey, I'm on the go, or I'm at break at lunch or something at work at the office, and it's like, hey, I've got 30 minutes, an hour to play something real quick, and I can just share a controller with a coworker or something like that. It spoke to me a lot hardware wise and game wise. Like I was surprised by some of these titles like ARMS, really
1-2 Switch,
right, the 1-2 Switch, things like that, and like the Mario Kart Deluxe 8. Like I've never really gotten into the Mario games or the Zelda games, but like they're showing stuff that I'm like, okay, this looks interesting. Like I'm interested.
Yeah, for sure.
But from that list of games we talked about, only 5 of them are there day one at launch, and that's where I feel it's double-sided. Like I feel like that's a big issue, a big problem, but at the same time, like I can kind of understand it because it's having a bit more of a slower rollout with more games out in the future to kind of show like, hey, we have support coming.
Yeah. I mean, as you mentioned, but day one, I think, to be fair, the only game people will care about is Zelda. The other games are clearly a secondary role. Maybe kids' parents will buy Skylanders.
Just Dance as well.
How much?
But Skylanders is already on other consoles.
Exactly. So I don't know if they're going to buy it on the Switch.
I don't know how well Just Dance sells. Apparently, it sells well enough that they keep making it.
Yeah, I mean that was the last game ever released for the original Wii.
I can't imagine
the last Just Dance.
I can't imagine it moving sales. I can't imagine Skylanders moving sales. Again, maybe they sell incredibly well, and I just don't know it. But I can't imagine them.
Skylanders sells well, but as Michael pointed out, it's already on PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. So, which parents
and Wii U, I think, right?
I personally feel like 1-2 Switch should be incorporated as their Wii Sports S game that they include with that console.
Oh yeah, but it's not, which is disappointing.
It's a blatant ripoff of money, in my opinion. At $50, that's how much it costs.
Make it if it was say $30.
It's a $20 experience tops.
Yeah.
Those are mini games as demos to try out. Like the whole quick draw. All right. That's a cool thing you can do. Or they had the eating competition. They had a few other things.
The cow.
Yeah.
I wonder how it is, because Nintendo Land I thought was pretty good.
That was
Nintendo
bundled
Land
in.
But Nintendo Land you could also buy it separately.
Yes, but it was bundled into most systems at base price. I want to say.
Whenever we've played Nintendo Land, I've always felt like there's enough in it to serve you for some time.
Yeah, that I think had a lot more. But to me, every demo that I've seen on the Treehouse for 1-2 Switch seems like, oh, it's a mini game that you can play for a minute, and then you're done with the game.
Right.
Whereas
Exactly.
Nintendo Land was games that you could literally play for 5 to 10 minutes around.
Right, and then we would jump around. We had 5 people whenever we
Yeah.
played it, and then we're playing that for an hour or two.
Mhm.
hmm
So after
really-
Zelda, though, you're
yeah.
waiting till April to get Mario Kart. April ending is Mario Kart.
Well, but again, when you're playing Zelda, I mean,
Yeah.
do you really need anything else coming out for you?
I think it's
you're
the
gonna want the
aspect.
time to.
I think it's the aspect that there's choices available, and that there are some
True.
people that are
True.
going to. And I think we may not have the time to finish it in 1 week, launch week, but kids will finish it in 1 week. They're going to just.
Very true.
They're going to play it a lot and beat it very
But
quickly with nothing left to
those are
do.
the same people that will get. Those are the people that will get any game and beat it in a week.
Yeah, but that's the whole point of launch titles have to be
Yeah,
numerous
no, I agree.
and expansive so that you can get a different thing one after another and build up, which is where the third parties come in and say, hey, we are going to make the third party launch title.
I think that if they were to constantly put out releases, they can make it work. It is very ballsy not to have a bunch of launch titles, but if they can get Zelda and then Mario Kart in April, but that's end of April. Now that I'm looking at it,
in April. It's almost 2 months basically of that.
It's almost
Arms,
2 months.
we have no idea.
Right, they just said spring.
That's the spring, right? So Arms, there's Splatoon summer, Skyrim is autumn, Holiday is the Mario game, and then just 2017 Minecraft, Xenoblade. I mean, you would expect Minecraft to be early on, right? That's something kids will play.
Oh, definitely. I mean, people who buy Minecraft buy it on everything.
So,
Case in point.
In terms of
it's cheap enough that you end up doing it.
I mean, that's the crux of launching in the spring, though, is you don't have all of the holiday releases to kind of help pad out your launch lineup. Like, when Sony and Xbox launched, they then had the Call of Duty.
Away from them. You get the full show of marketing, which you can use. No one else is launching at that time. You don't have to compete with them in marketing.
True, but it's also spring, which is not really the
games
sales.
Don't come out.
No,
they don't sell then.
Summer and holiday are when everything comes out.
I mean, the way I compare it to is like the 3DS when it launched. I mean, it came out.
That was a very weak launch.
It was a very weak launch, and that's why they had a price cut. It launched at $250 and was dropped to like $170, I believe, within
I think it was $200
a quarter. And it started selling. It didn't start actually selling extremely well until the holiday season, the last quarter.
But they also had games coming out at that point.
Right, it had games coming out by that point, but it's going to be more of a curve up. Like it's going to take time for them to start building the momentum.
But, okay.
And that's why I think it's okay, because a lot of people are trying to look at this and they're even trying to position it as a home console, but this is a portable console.
Yeah.
So this is a mobile console. Like if you think about it as a DS, like launching in the spring, that's when all the DSs pretty much launched, was the spring, because it was after the holiday rush. But with this sort of console, since it's trying to position itself as a home console, I think if they position it instead as a portable console, it would look better, because then you're expecting a softer launch than to grow as it.
I think you could go from that perspective, right? So you have it being in March, you have Zelda as your one big game, and then you just try to hype and market around that. And then come at the end of April, you start marketing Mario Kart, and that's your big game of April that's going to build up the hype. And then, come May, you start building up hype for E3.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And then from there, that's when you say, you want games? Boom, boom, boom. Here's all your games.
Well, but I also feel like this was their platform to say, hey, here's our games. Like,
right. Well, I think they should have come out of the gate swinging, saying, you know what? Here, boom. Here's your Mario. Exactly. Here's your Zelda. Here's your at least two big games right out the gate, saying, here's what we've got. Here's what you can enjoy.
Exactly.
And we want there to be a scarcity, much like the Wii, where you can't find it anywhere.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, that's huge.
I mean, of course, we have to wait for E3 for more, but it just seems like even if they started E3, I think they're going to focus more on 2018 titles than they will on 2017 titles. Because it just seems like, remember, E3, you have to share the week with Sony, you have to share with Microsoft, you got to share with
EA and Ubisoft.
Activision. You got all these conferences. You got to share it. As Michael, you said, this is their day where the entire media is focused on this. This week, other than the Detroit Auto Show, there's nothing happening. Nothing is happening this week. This is your week, and you control this week, and you can deliver as many games as you want to hype people up. And I don't think they delivered on that. I think, as you said, it's a build-up. But
yeah, I mean,
I'm
not gonna lie. The 1-2 Switch looked fun, but it's not $60 fun.
That's a gimmick.
No, it's not.
It's a gimmick, in my opinion.
It is a cheap party game.
Yeah.
That is what I. ARMS looks pretty fun, but the fact that I would need someone else that has their own Switch to come over, and then we can enjoy it, right? Because you need the double Joy-Cons.
$110 for another controller.
Yeah.
So I need someone that's going to go buy their own console.
The question I have with ARMS and these games is Nintendo typically, when you do local play, did not chart. You didn't have to. It was free, right? It is still free. Will they change that with ARMS in any game? Because they remember when the reveal trailer came out a few months ago, they did the whole social aspect of it. Does that mean now that they're charging for online, you can't do that anymore?
I think local co-op will still be free, and the reason why I'm saying that is when I saw the ARMS and the 1-2 Switch and whatnot, it basically confirmed to me saying Nintendo knows that they're one of the few things when people think local multiplayer, local co-op, Nintendo is the platform that is pretty much king for that. Because if I want to go and play local co-op, my choices are FIFA and a little bit of COD with bots or zombies or something like that.
Yeah.
And then I start looking for other games, and I was like, what do I get?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, like
I've honestly tried to find local co-op games, and I guess I have Borderlands, and okay, that's another shooter. I guess I have what? I'm not talking PC either. I mean split screen, actual split screen co-op.
Right.
What do I have?
Yeah,
and it's actually pretty hard now to think of choices that comes up immediately.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, because it's also a hard market to hit. I mean, people liked Overcooked of 2016, but it's because it was a local co-op game that was fun, and it's such a niche market because not only do they you're hitting like as a developer or a publisher trying to sell a game, you're aiming for someone who has this console. 2, they have friends that will come over. And 3, they have multiple controllers. Like that's a lot to ask of a gamer because we're complaining about the cost of the controllers for the Switch. Well, if you were to do that on the PS4, let's say you got the controllers on sale for $40 a piece. Well, so you have to spend another $120 to get 3 more controllers to play with you to play this $120 game. Like it's
the Wii U being working. The Wii U working with Wii remotes was actually pretty good in that regard.
And speaking of Wii U and everything, this is going to be the first non-backwards compatible in a long time for Nintendo. There will be no backwards compatibility.
Is that really confirmed? I hadn't heard that.
There's no CD slot. You can't put in Wii U discs. I mean, digitally, I assume you can maybe.
I was going to say,
they might port some of them. I think there was some rumors about Smash.
Well, that's an actual re-release. They're going to release.
Right, it's going to be the entire Smash 4 game re-released with all the DLC on the Switch.
Yeah.
Pokemon. So we had Sun and Moon. It's going to be a third one, which we haven't seen in the franchise for quite some time.
Project Stars or something. I think is what it's project.
Yeah, so that should help move a lot of units just by the nature of being Pokemon.
Right. I mean, I'm surprised they didn't mention Pokemon at all. I mean, with all the hype of last year and how well Sun and Moon sold itself.
I imagine that's an E3 thing.
Again, like
I imagine,
but they should have done it when they had the limelight.
Yeah, I agree.
I think they could have mentioned it now and then really showed off at E3. Just mention we will have Pokemon. Question mark
at E3. Yeah,
we'll have more to talk about.
Even that's enough.
And they could have said,
"Hey, we'll show you this at E3, this at E3," like just to let people know, like, "Hey, there's more coming."
Exactly.
I
did like. No, this is personal bias, but I like the SMT, Shin Megami Tensei.
But that was a trailer. We don't know when that's releasing either.
I mean, that appealed to me, being a big JRPG guy. I love Atlas, so
that has literally no day. That could come out in 2019. Who knows?
Yeah, it could. I like how Fire Emblem is Nintendo's new baby. Like Metroid's dead, Star Fox is dead. Don't even exist according to Nintendo anymore.
Well,
But
I don't know. According to the line you've mentioned, that means they're going to kill Fire Emblem next. They gave
Well,
it
no,
to
it's their new.
they gave it
the
to
Fire
Koei
Emblem
Tecmo.
Direct-
No. Yeah, so Fire Emblem, I don't know.
There's a
If
Fire
you-
Emblem event next week. Nintendo
Yes,
Direct. just
I'm
for
so
Fire
excited
Emblem.
for that. There's new Fire Emblem.
I'm
But-
joking, but
so Fire
they
Emblem Warriors
handing
is
it
basically
to,
their Hyrule Warriors.
yeah,
Yeah,
they're handing it to
so-
Koei Tecmo, who develops all the Warriors
Dynasty
series, Dynasty Warriors, Musu Warriors, all the Warriors
Samurai.
series.
Dude, ever since you introduced me to the Warrior series, right? I've played all of them with the Dynasty Warriors since.
Mhm.
And I played some of the other spin-off franchises. One Piece Pirate Warriors is one of the most fun of the Warriors games I've seen played to date.
Yeah.
It's fantastic,
So
right? And I love how you've got your different little themes for whatever. Like you love Gundam stuff. They have a Gundam one.
mhm.
No, I love Fire Emblem. I can't wait to see all the Fire Emblem stuff. And then I imagine they would port Hyrule Warriors over.
Yeah, maybe.
I would imagine they would do something with it, or a second version of the game.
Mhm.
I mean, it did well enough, from what I understand, in sales that they would make another one or do something with it.
Yeah. Finally, I mean, there's the Super Mario Odyssey, which looked really cool, but
Yeah, I was like Super Mario City. That's what it looked like.
I'm really hyped for this one. I really like. I can't wait. It's a new playstyle with the hat now. He has a boomerang jumping platform thing, and I can't wait for that.
Super Mario Galaxy, but in the city.
Exactly.
That was great.
And
How did you guys feel about the real people there, though?
that was weird. That
It was
was
weird.
that
Yeah.
was weird. The
Again,
new
like, I
Dog
haven't-
City based on New York City.
Yeah, I haven't like played through a Mario game or a Zelda game all the way through.
Yeah.
Like I'm one of those gamers that somehow, when we had an N64, just missed the boat
Yeah.
and played like the weird licensed games like Rugrats or something. So I found it interesting still, but yeah, I mean, like all Mario games, like they put so much heart into those, like the amount of effort and the amount of time they put into it. Like I think it just speaks volumes of it. So I'm hoping, like, it's sad that it's not a launch title to really
Yeah.
drive, like, hey, here's the new Nintendo system. We've got your two biggest franchises day one.
Do you think that if they were to launch on April 1st instead of March, or April 3rd instead of March 3rd, would it be better? Because then you have Zelda, and at the end of the month you have Mario Kart.
No, I mean, I don't think so. Their launch window is very extended compared to other launches. So, you know, like PlayStation 4, they were like, here's our launch lineup, and they had, 20 some games, like great games. And then they had their launch window games, and it went for like, okay, the next 6 months. Like to February, I think, is when Infamous Second Son came out.
Mhm.
So this, though, is saying, okay, we're going from March to holiday, which that's 9 months through the holiday season to be your launch window. That's a rather large window when gaming fans can be very
not
fickle
only that,
sometimes.
You have to think about all the big games that are coming out during this year of other titles such as Horizon Zero Dawn is a big one. You're having
Mass Effect Andromeda.
Mass Effect coming out in March. So it's not just Nintendo competing, it's
Fractured
Nintendo's
Butthole.
competing, it's all of these other ones. So March had to be the time they launched. If I didn't like their March date, I think holiday season is better to launch because you have more titles ready, but they wanted to launch in March. They have more time. That's it. But
Yeah.
for a few negatives, though, what I didn't like, I mean, we've hit the hardware negatives, software negatives. Did they already hit? I don't know if you guys watched the trailers for Super Mario Odyssey and several of the other games, but in Odyssey specifically, I couldn't tell whether it's just Nintendo being inexperienced doing real world life kind of environments, or whether the console already hit its peak. If you noticed that a lot of the sequences inside of that game, if you go into their trailer, 1 minute 4 seconds, the foliage looks flat and it looks really, really bad. Like level of graphics from N64's Zelda games. It looked. I mean, if you guys want to load it up or not, at 1 minute 4 seconds, if you look at it, it looks pretty bad in my opinion. Not saying the game will be bad. Obviously, Nintendo is historically focused gameplay, so I'm sure the game will be fun. I'm just saying that was interesting to look at that and go, this doesn't look right. This doesn't make me feel positive about the system unless
All
this
right,
is them optimizing. I'm sure they do have 9 months, right? Holiday to optimize it. Maybe it is that, but it looks
all
like
right.
I'm
Yeah, I'm
not too
looking at the.
sure.
Are you talking about the foliage when he's running and it's
The
forming as he goes,
waterfall,
right?
the waterfall. Look at him right at the edge of the waterfall where he's standing there, and you'll notice that um, it. Look at the
1 minute 4 seconds, right?
yeah.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, the grass looks okay, but then the foliage that's part of the background looks kind of flat.
It's flat and it's that textures look weak across several games. And the Xenoblade one, when he was on the cat thing or wolf thing, the foliage blurred out. It seemed to be that I couldn't tell. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it is a console that's its peak. It is using a mobile processor from NVIDIA.
I
Maybe
think
it's
it's a
just
bit of.
NVIDIA being inexperienced right now. Nintendo being inexperienced right
I
now
think
and
it's a bit
unable.
of that. It's a bit of this is the first time they're working with this, so it'll take time for them to get better at it. And
also, yeah, and
it's
I would
just a
also
bit of.
say that,
Last thing I was going to say is it's just the graphics style they could be using.
and also it's Nintendo, who's not usually, they don't care about graphics, they care about gameplay, which makes sense because these are games. The gameplay is what matters. Like, some of the worst graphical games of all time are still some of the best games. I mean, Tetris. Like, you don't need 1080p 60 frames per second when you're playing Tetris. It's
Right.
just,
Yes, I do. Come on, man. I got to move those blocks.
It's
It's
just-
smooth.
so it's just one of those things, like, they've never, and that's why it's not as the huge powerhouse 4K console,
Right.
because they're working on gameplay, they're working on controls, how you control the gameplay experience, and that's what Nintendo's about ever
All right.
since forever.
So I think
To round it out, what would you guys rate
Yeah.
that? I guess the Treehouse event and the press conference.
You go first.
Okay.
Since you got to actually watch the Treehouse, I did not.
Yeah. So okay, the Treehouse I liked a lot. So the conference itself, I'd give it a B, a B grade, I guess, because of the fact that one, it's a Japanese conference, so obviously
Scale
there's
of 1
some
to 10.
scale 1 to 10. Okay, then that's let's say a 8, a flat,
Okay.
or 7.5 to 8, because
Okay.
it's one of those things that it's a Japanese conference, so there was a lot of Japanese cultural things that were happening that are very different for us, obviously. So like some of the corniness to it, things like that. Like coming out, the doctor coming out in the Splatoon thing. Like, I loved it. I thought it was great. You know, the whole Switch pun that they kept throwing out there. Like, you know, I thought it was great. It's just funny. But the things they didn't say were the problems for me. The not going into details on accounts and how that's going to work with Virtual Console, or just your online account, how that's going to function with, you know, they said, you know, you'll need another smart device, but like, it wasn't extremely clear because some people were still like disputing that the next morning. But also the actual Team Treehouse thing I thought was better because they actually showed the games. That's one thing that we've heard time and time again ever since the first PlayStation 4 conference, where it was just game, and just kept hitting that, showing you like, this is why you want this console. It's for these games, and that's what we're going to show you. And I felt like they were able to do that more so in the Team Treehouse thing. So I actually like that a lot. I give that like an A minus. Like, again, there's some things that we're still learning, but
You think you would buy?
I do not think I will not buy this day one. I'm not pre-ordering it. Again, like, I've not been a huge Nintendo fan for a long time, but like, I'm a huge gamer, and like, I've always wanted to go back and play some of those games on Virtual Console, but it's like, okay, well, if I did that on the Wii U, then how would I be able to do that on the Switch? Like, there's no consistency for me.
Do you think that?
But like, this holiday, I could see myself getting it this holiday or putting it on my wish list to Santa.
Okay. That was my question. No, holiday season. Do you think that it might be something to look at there?
Yeah, I think that's something that I could definitely see myself getting, is because waiting for the online features to be there because online is very important for me, especially like just because I've got friends around the country. So if I want to play with them, like it's great to be able to do that. Obviously, local co-op is great too. With the Switch, that's what it focuses on a lot. But yeah, I just I'd like to experience the Switch because I think the console itself, I think it's a great idea. It's doing what the PS4 and Vita were trying to do, kind of, but didn't do it at all. So I think the Switch is a great idea. I like it. There's just not enough for me to jump in yet. Like you were saying about Xbox and their marketing, how strong it was with the 360. Their tagline was "jump in," and right now I don't see a reason to jump in yet because I've got enough games, like we were already saying, like Horizon Zero Dawn, Mass Effect Andromeda, and South Park: The Fractured But Whole are all supposed to be Q1. And so like my spring is packed. Like I don't need Zelda on top of it. So
For me, I thought the conference was like a 6 out of 10, and more of the aspect of I didn't like the translators. I don't know. I thought they could have found some more enthusiastic translators and not so delayed translators. But I thought the overall presentation, as you said, was traditional Japanese. In terms of presentation, I didn't have an issue with it. I just think they didn't have any demos on stage. I think ARMS is the only actual demo they showed on stage. Everything else was a trailer, and even then, it wasn't a good length of a trailer. Shin Megami Tensei or Hyrule Warriors, and it was like, hey, title, title, title. And then they showed a 30 or like 20 games or so in that short 5 seconds at the end of the presentation. I thought that's weak. You could use 2 hours right now and people would be okay with it. I liked, as you said, Treehouse was far better because you got to see much more in depth of the game demos, and I like that. Maybe that's their goal for future presentations. Maybe we don't treat it as two different things. Maybe it's one whole thing that lasts 48 hours or 24 hours. I like that overall, and I agree with you. This is not a day one purchase for me. Maybe if it was $250, I would go in on a day one. But I think at $300, yeah, it's only $50 more. But I think
well,
I'll
when
wait.
you have to factor in the extra controller,
Exactly. So
and the games.
I think waiting till holiday, and more than one reason, not just the price. I think the one thing is holiday time means they might release a special edition one. They might release a Super Mario Odyssey
Or a
special
bundle.
edition. Who knows? Yeah, and holiday time means bundles. I'm more hyped. I'm a huge, probably my biggest fan of a Nintendo is Pokemon. I want a Pokemon game in full HD. There's rumors it's supposed to be this fall, and we've had a Pokemon game every single winter now, so I expect that at E3 to show up, and then I will make my decision for the game for that console. And I think it's a holiday purchase for me, and I'm leaning towards it almost being a definite purchase for me, even without a Pokemon game. But I think it will have enough games by then that I
You'll
can
know it's
enjoy
going to
it.
come, I think.
Yeah.
For me,
So
sorry, still talking.
there's clear negatives, but I think there's a lot to live up to, and so I'm the Nintendo Treehouse was a 9.5 for me. That was amazing.
Okay.
6 out of 10. Switch overall hopeful, not ready yet.
So for me, I give it. I did not see the Treehouse, so it's just the Switch presentation itself. I think I gave it a 7 out of 10. As for purchase, I don't think I'm going to buy it day one, but I can definitely see myself holiday season. In fact, I probably will do it holiday season. By then, you'll have your Zelda, you'll have Mario Kart out. We're going to see a little bit more. My biggest thing is I want more Fire Emblem. I want more Shin Megami Tensei. Those are my beloved franchises. Those will come out eventually. I know they will. So, and by the time, again, Pokemon, if there's going to be more Pokemon stuff coming out, that's what I'm looking forward to. And also, it's just, I can get a bundle at that point. I know there's going to be some bundle pack I can get. Hopefully, either there's a price drop or there's just more games. It's going to come down to having more games for me. So, yeah, I'm in very much consensus with the two of you. That's pretty much all I've got. I didn't expect anything about details of how the online works. That's not very sexy to have in a presentation about your games. It's important, but
Yeah.
I want games. I think I will buy it by the end of the year, though.
Yeah, I can see it happening.
Yep. All right. I guess that concludes our video. Thanks for watching.
Thanks for joining, Michael.
Thanks for having me.
See you guys.